benefits of a blended workforce model becoming increasingly apparent, and the complexities of introducing such an approach to workforce development being eased by technology, the case for the wider adoption of the blended workforce in the field service sector seems to be becoming clear. But is it an approach that is suitable for all field service companies? Or is it better suited to certain industry verticals?
I think, for me, I think one of the drivers of a blended workforce is your business volumes variable? If you have a static, if you have a business where your volumes are fairly static, nothing's going to be 10 jobs every single day. So when I was thinking about this, a car servicing garage comes to mind. It's the throughput. It's they're in geographical areas. They know the geographical footprint of the vehicles within that area. Not all the make of that vehicle will come back to the dealers. So if you're looking at the likes of there are other cars available, as you say, but Ford or Vauxhall or Fiat or Peugeot, when you're looking at those dealerships, do you really need to outsource the mechanics within that area, which is I'll class the mechanic side of life as the field service. So maybe probably not. But when you have something that's variable, now I don't know the white goods industry. I don't know whether the volumes go up and down. Telecoms for definite. You mentioned there we mentioned seasonality plenty of times. You could say the vehicle recovery industry. Probably in winter there's more demand for vehicle recoveries than there is in summertime. So I think variable demand for me is probably one of the key drivers for you to think about, do I need a blended workforce? Then you can think about, okay, is it geographical that I need the support? Is it seasonality that I need the support? Is it utilization of the workforce, because I'm not utilizing all my workforce, so I have higher cost than what I need to have. So I think it's, for me, the trigger question is, do I have a variable demand? Yes. Okay, how and where do I have that variable demand that then will lead me into thinking about this blended workforce? And so with Ericsson, with our all the multitude of skills that we need, the geographical locations, the seasonal impact, definitely a variable business. And it's just, how do we manage that where every penny we spend is adding value.
Industries like major appliances, consumer electronics, home warranty systems, home security, property and casualty insurance, again, both auto and property, retail, right? All these industries that are being touched by consumers or involve potentially sending people to the consumer's house are ideal for a blended workforce.
I think at a level it's applicable to most sectors, to be honest. Varying sectors will have different levels of pressure, and I think that's one of the key barriers, actually. And one of the key things that's probably why you've seen maturity within some industries rather than others. White goods, for example, is probably leading the way with hybrid workforce models. It's well established within that industry, and the reason why it's been very successful is because the customer's expectations with a white goods repair, if it is 2 visits and it's done within a reasonable time frame, is acceptable. They will cope without a washing machine for a week. That's not going to create too much of a trauma for the customers, and will not lead to too much customers' dissatisfaction, which has allowed them to rapidly take this on. Other industries, such as the heating industry, customers want the heating back on the same day, and it's making sure that you've then got the processes in place to try and live up to the expectations. And other industries and other sectors will sit between the two. And it's that level of customer expectation, I think, which a lot of companies see as a barrier to taking the plunge with such a model.
What we're seeing is that the bigger impediment is really that it requires dedicated resources within a company to recruit, train, certify, and manage a third-party workforce, and that to me seems to be the bigger impediment to it gaining even more traction than it has.
I think the more specialized, the more specific it is, the harder it is to get to a third party, because there may not be the volume to make it worth my while, and I probably can't be an HVAC, major appliance, copier, and a jet engine technician, right? I probably can't do all of those. So I think the more specialized it is, and the more high tech in terms of materials, software, and all that, it makes it harder. And then I think the other piece is the criticality of timing, right? And what you need that makes it harder. If we'll stick with the engines, because I do know they have, as I've talked to a couple of these guys out in the field service, they have very very strict time commitments in terms of repair and uptime and when it's got to be back up, to the point that if there is an engine that's down in Seattle and I don't have someone in Seattle, I'm jumping someone on a plane like within the next hour to get to Seattle same day to go fix that, right? There's just that type of urgency, because it's not like every airline's got 20 planes waiting for something to go, right? This is the plane I have for this time to run these flights. And if this is down, then I'm not running these flights. I can maybe move passengers and get some of it, but that's an extremely short term. You got to get someone in there to fix it. So, they're moving somewhere and doing quick. So when that time crunch is, I think that does make it a little bit harder. Again, not that I don't think impossible or that there aren't third parties that do that work. But I think those two things, the more specialized and the more time sensitive or critical it is, I think that does make it more challenging. For products that, you use every day, someone who, there's a lot of people who have that technical expertise and, tinker with their washing machine to replace a motor or a belt or something, that can do those repairs. But clearly there aren't a lot of people who repair jet engines, right? So, and all the investment to get someone up to that speed, some of those do seem harder. So I do think, to your point, there's different levels of ease or availability to do that, but I think it can be done in almost all of them. And I think in almost all of them that I talk to, there's in some way, shape, or form some piece of it. And I think as we're talking through all of this, it's I think the direction where a lot of industries are going.